The center of Moscow concentrates luxury apartments, and just a few streets away, families live in communal flats that date back to the 60s without renovations. Rising housing costs mean that many residents spend more than half of their wages on rent, which drastically limits money for food and medicine. In one room, three generations often live together: grandparents, parents, and grandchildren, which robs people of privacy and causes intergenerational tensions. Some families still share a kitchen and a bathroom with neighbors, which recalls the realities of Soviet times and makes dignified everyday life difficult. In the wealthy center, tiny apartments appear with areas of 10 to 15 square meters where life concentrates on survival. Poor families settle on Moscow's outskirts in blocks that have not been renovated for decades, where buildings crumble and infrastructure is neglected and outdated. Against the backdrop of wealthy districts, dilapidated ruins covered in mold and peeling plaster rise up, a visual proof of growing social inequalities in the capital. In many apartments, poor insulation makes indoor temperatures fall to around 10 degrees Celsius in winter, which threatens residents' health and well-being. Some families are forced to use portable electric heaters instead of central heating, which raises costs and the risk of system failures. In Moscow, there are even squatter communities and abandoned factories where people create makeshift homes to avoid homelessness on the streets. The average salary in Moscow is around 110,000 to 120,000 rubles, but that statistic masks huge differences between occupational groups. In practice, many people earn far less, often 40,000 to 60,000 rubles, which is not enough for rent and basic expenses. Manual workers such as cleaners and security guards earn at the margin of subsistence, often forcing them to hold several jobs. Immigrant women from Central Asia often receive wages of around 20,000 rubles per month, placing them in extreme poverty and dependence on casual work. Many residents earn extra money off the books as drivers or market sellers because formal employment does not provide decent conditions or contracts. Small-scale street and market trade is for some the only source of income, and that trade depends on demand and seasonality, which is unstable. Pensioners make up a large group of the poor, living on merely 15,000 to 20,000 rubles per month and seeking ad hoc ways to survive. Older people often collect bottles or sell items at flea markets to supplement the meager income provided by low pensions. Rising rent and energy bills absorb half of household incomes, forcing families to cut back on food and healthcare. Many households have debts with bailiffs, leading to garnished wages and loss of essential household goods, deepening debt spirals. The poorest shop at fixed-price chains and markets, choosing the cheapest goods often of low nutritional value and short shelf life. Packaged pasta and bread become popular because they are the cheapest calorie sources, but a lack of dietary variety affects long-term health. In poor households, meat appears on the table once or twice a week, and the diet is based on potatoes, groats, and long-life canned food. Older people most often subsist on potatoes, groats, and canned food, which is cheap but leads to deficiencies in essential vitamins and minerals. People go to late-night shops for discounted short-dated products to save money, sometimes risking the quality of what they buy. Queues form at markets for boxes of second-grade vegetables like carrots or potatoes that end up there after supermarket selection and export. Soups made from bones bought cheaply at butcheries are popular as a way to extend flavor and the nutritional value of small meat portions. Low-quality alcohol can be cheaper than milk and in many families replaces a meal, which worsens health and accelerates bodily degeneration. Around 100,000 homeless people live in Moscow, most of whom seek shelter in heating tunnels and informal night shelters. In winter, deaths from exposure on the street are high because shelters are insufficient and social assistance is limited and hard to access. Slums of immigrants arise on the city's fringes where hundreds of families live in makeshift structures without basic communal services. The poor sell old clothes on sidewalks, which is sometimes the only source of small income that allows them to buy food. In underpasses, elderly women sell single eggs or homemade pickles, trying in this way to survive from month to month. Many undocumented people lose access to hospitals and social aid, which means chronic illnesses go untreated and the situation worsens. Children from poor families attend extracurricular activities less often because lack of money for an instrument or sport limits their educational prospects. In many homes, there are not even textbooks or school clothes, which fosters a sense of exclusion and reduces chances for an equal start in learning. Adults avoid doctor visits because they cannot afford private consultations and medicines, so minor ailments turn into more serious illnesses. Some residents live as if in the countryside, without a bathroom or with water from a yard well, even though they formally inhabit the boundaries of a big city. In New Moscow, housing estates without sewerage are being built and sold to poorer families, creating new enclaves of poverty in peripheral districts. The poor travel in outdated Lada cars or minibuses, while Bentleys and expensive SUVs of the elite are parked nearby. Contrasts in clothing are visible, from designer suits to market garments, reflecting income and status differences among residents. In peripheral blocks, lifts break down for months and elderly people remain trapped in apartments without help or transport alternatives. In many districts, sewerage collapses and stench and rats become everyday realities, affecting public health and the quality of urban space. Poverty is visible in every queue at the social pharmacy where people wait for discounts and free medicines, hoping for help that is often insufficient. The Kremlin crafts an image of a wealthy capital, yet reality shows that poverty is as widespread as in the country's poorest regions. For many Moscow residents, everyday life is not about luxuries but about struggling to survive another day, where priorities are food and bills.